In episode 1 of Hellbound, we open on an average day with people in a coffee shop discussing whether Young Jin Soo, head of a new religion called The New Truth, is crazy. He's famous online for his videos showing demonic rock monsters, who come to collect people. Jin Soo claims they arrive after an angel announces a person will be taken to hell. At exactly 1:20 p.m., strange noises in the distance grab everyone's attention. Suddenly, the glass in the coffee shop shatters, bringing in 3 rock monsters. They chase a man down the street. When these titans finally catch up with the man, they use the power from their hands to extract his soul. After that, they run and disappear into thin air. We then cut to a police station, where the team are given a briefing about what happened. The victim's name was Ju Myung-hun, and he lived alone near the crime scene after being divorced for 2 years. Police officer Kyung-hoon shows up late to the meeting, and is curious at the demonic creature. Kyung-hoon and fellow detective Eun-pyo are tasked with the case. On the car to the crime scene, Eun-pyo looks up online information about The New Truth and discovers that they are very secretive and have a connection with a criminal gang named Arrowhead. They then show up at the crime scene and investigate. The New Truth also hosts a meeting just next to the place. With plenty of video footage and photos, Jin informs the crowd of the reality of what's happening. There are numerous chosen victims everywhere, with similar injuries, all turned into ashes. He also claims that all the victims committed crimes, and what happened to them is just the punishment they deserve. After the speech, the detectives try to talk to Jin, but he isn't very helpful. Just in the middle of this investigation, Kyung-hoon sees his daughter doing some voluntary work for The New Truth. He walks toward her and asks what she's doing here, and it turns out she has been a follower of Jin for a while. Kyung-hoon and Eun-pyo follow Jin Soo to the underground metro to keep asking him about The New Truth and himself. Jin Soo appears to be a humble and grounded man despite the respect his followers have for him. As they ride the train together, Jin Soo tells them about his childhood. He was growing up in an orphanage until he turned 20. Miserable in his own life, Jin Soo considered suicide. However, he wanted to do it alone, so he traveled to the Tibet. Here he saw these creatures for the first time, as they were turning a victim to a crisp. Witnessing this singular moment gave Jin Soo a purpose in life. He interpreted this as a sign from God, a need to spread his word for sinners to repent and everyone else to live a more righteous life. As Kyung-hoon walks with Jin Soo, he laughs at the idea of God and his punishment and says humans should be able to act as their free will. Jin Soo is prepared for this and brings up the subject of Kyung-hoon's wife. She was murdered in the past and it's a black cloud that's been hanging over this detective ever since. Jin Soo questions what he may be doing right now. Since the murderer is released from jail, at that moment, some of Jin's followers recognize him and he excuses himself and leave Kyung-hoon speechless. After that he heads home and checks on his daughter. However, after his wife's death, there is a wall growing between them. He then goes online to investigate Jin Soo's past. Unfortunately, this also leads him down the rabbit hole regarding what happened to his wife. The culprit in question was released after 6 years in prison, and that only further emphasizes Jin Soo's words, asking him earlier whether the killer is actually remorseful or not. We then cut to a woman called Park Jung-ja. She heads home to her children, who surprise her with a happy birthday cake. The son keeps recording her and the daughter. Just then a strange prophetic face appears and growls that Young-ja is bound for hell in 5 days' time. The next day a Arrowhead streamer starts to talk about the case, showing his excitement for how God has demonstrated his damnation in broad daylight. He also exposes the identity of the victim and his sin. Feel empowered by the surreal phenomenon that happening, Arrowhead attacked a novelist out in the streets. Armed with iron pipes and weapons, a group of kids arrived and beat him down, leaving the man a bloody mess. Now he shows up in the station, with his lawyer, Hae-jin, who is determined to find the truth behind Jin Soo and his religion. With some of the Arrowhead kids responsible in the station, Eun-pyo is tasked with talking to the kids while Kyung-hoon tackles the victim and Hae-jin. After that, when Hae-jin comes back to her office, Jung-ja arrives and tells the lawyers about her death omen and a visit to the New Truth. Jung-ja reveals that Jin Soo wants to film her execution. Jin Soo offers her 3 billion won to let him live broadcast her being sent to hell. Jung-ja says that she's going to accept the New Truth's offer. With 3 billion won and her 2 kids will be good, even without her. And now she need the lawyers to be with her during the signing process so their right will be protected. Hygiene isn't sure about this and suggests she shouldn't take the deal as her and her children identities as will be exposed. Her college, Mr. Park, believes it's a great deal and thinks she should go for it. He and Hygiene then have an argument. Hygiene eventually heads home, greeting her sick mother who is smoking in bed. She tells her mother about the strange thing that happened. The mother comforts her. That night Jungja can't sleep thinking about her fate and the children that will be left behind. The next day, Kyung-hoon and Yunpyo are at the station. The chief is not happy about the report of the incident and throws the statement on the floor. He wants solid proof and refuses to believe any of this is caused by supernatural power. Then Hygiene calls Kyung-hoon to tell him to come to Youngja house as the deal will be signed today. Jin-soo and his legal people arrive at Jungja's place with forms ready to be filled out for the 3 billion won agreement. But Jin-soo is somehow more interested in Jungja's kids. He presses her on revealing the father of the children. He indirectly calls her a mistress, which shocks Hygiene, especially when Jin-soo nonchalantly claims this is the reason she's being targeted for going to hell. Youngja's son gets out of his room and defends his mother but quickly gets sent back inside by his mom. She then says in tears that as long as her kid will be provided she accepts her fate. News of Jungja's live broadcast heads across to Arrowhead, as this crazy neon mask streamer delivers another live broadcast. As he does, the address for Jungja and her personal details are leaked by no one else but Psycho Eun-pyo, who is revealed to be an Arrowhead supporter. Kyung-hoon also heads home, where he receives a call from his daughter Hee-young. She's going to be staying over at a friend's house, when in reality, she's actually at Jin-soo's house, where she blames herself for what happened to her mother. That day her mom asked her to stop by her dad's workplace to bring him clothes for change. She forgot to do it so her mom had to go there instead, and that's why the women got kidnapped and killed. And as Hee-young calls herself a failure, Jin-soo hugs her and promises to create a world for her where no one will do bad things. With Jungja's details leaked, Hygiene and Kyung-hoon work together to try and take Jungja and her kids out before something bad happens. Unfortunately Kyung-hoon calls Eun-pyo and inform him about their plan to bring the kids to the airport. The streamer of Arrowhead claims Jungja killed her partners and abused the kids too. The proof of this comes from a picture of her son with a bruise on his arm. In order to protect the family, Jungja and Hygiene organize for the 2 kids, Yoon-yeol and Hale, to be on a plane that go to Canada. Meanwhile, Jin-soo then drives Hee-young to the exact location where her mother's killer happens to be and Hee-young uses the taser to knock him down and they bring and burn down the guy in an abandoned factory. Both watch as he burns to death and Hee-young, with tears on her face, starts to smile. The next morning, news of the burned body that found in a green shoe in all TV channels, with many pointing out the similarities between the station case and this one. Arrowhead and the media join in to further affirm the punishing power of the supernatural force claiming to be God. All of them are going to broadcast Jungja's journey to hell live. Out of the blue, the police station is ambushed by the teenage members of Arrowhead. Kyung-hoon and his colleagues quickly regain control, but the attack somehow intensifies the chaos. Meanwhile Jungja's house is set up with VIPs from the New Truth sitting outside as a large crowd gathers to witness Jungja's descent into hell. Episode 3 of Hellbound begins with the entire nation waiting for the execution. The police stay close to the stage, while Hygiene and Mr. Park are among the crowd. Jungja sits with her back to the audience. The host starts a countdown, but when it reaches 0 and nothing happens, everyone confused. Suddenly, the ground shakes, and the monsters break through the wall in front of Jungja. They grab her, pin her to the wall, and one of the monsters sharpens its hand and stabs Jungja's arm. The crowd panics as they witness the horrifying scene. The police chief yells for backup, expecting the snipers to take down the monsters but they are useless. Kyung-hoon is shocked by the gruesome scene and sees Eun-pyo suddenly laughing maniacally. He tries to shoot the monster, but it knocks him to the ground. Jungja is brutally beaten to death in front of the cameras and the shocked viewers. The trio of creatures then burn her to a crisp before vanishing into another dimension. the police arrive to find Jungja now just charred remains. Eunpyo and many others standing outside drop to their knees and begin praying, while Hae-jin is stunned. That night, Kyung-hoon wakes up in the hospital alone. He rushes home to check on his daughter but finds no one there, and her phone is unreachable. He faints again due to the head pain. The next day, he drives to work and finds the streets eerily quiet, and even the police station is empty. Watching the news on TV, he learns about the events after he collapsed, with Jin-soo becoming an important figure in Korea. The media wants to interview him as his opinion is highly valued. They ask about the new truth and the good work they are doing, but Kyung-hoon and Hae-jin are infuriated by it. At the same time, Kyung-hoon reviews the CCTV footage from the previous night and notices his wife's killer being taken to the incinerator. The killer is wearing a black hoodie that looks just like the one belonging to Hee-young, and most importantly, it is in the background of Jin-soo's apartment. Jin-soo continues to aggressively call on everyone to join the new truth to understand God's demands and avoid punishment. After that, the Arrowhead organization is further encouraged to proceed with their extreme actions. The streamer throws shade at Kyung-hoon for shooting the Hell Monster and criticized Hae-jin for not bowing down and praying. They frame them as public enemies. Seeing her identity got exposed online, Hae-jin quickly tries to evacuate her mom. Kyung-hoon drives to Jin-soo's house and sees multiple citizens camping there. He coldly approaches his residence, ignore all the people that try to stop him. Jin-soo now had a massive number of supporters ready to protect him. Meanwhile, Hae-jin finds a package sent to her from someone named Pastor Kim Jeongchil, stating that Jin had also received a prophecy 20 years ago. She tries to call her colleague Mr. Park while driving her mom to the office, but he is unreachable. She then goes to the parking lot and leave the car there with her mom inside and run to the office, after telling her mom not to open the car door to anyone. Mr. Park finally answers her call and tells her to stop their act as he has been severely beaten by Arrowhead. Even worse, Hae-jin's office has been completely vandalized, with graffiti on the walls and the entire office in mess. Arrowhead quickly finds Hae-jin's car with her mom inside. They break the car window and drags the poor lady out. Hae-jin can't call her mom, sensing something off she run to check just to see her mom being beaten by these Arrowhead brats. She runs to stop them but quickly gets knocked down. Both of them were attacked with pipes in the parking lot, and while Hae-jin's mom tried to call her, she is struck on the head with a pipe. Afterward, the criminal fled the scene. Hae-jin struggled to get up and found her mom unconscious. She called for an ambulance and rushed to the hospital, hoping her mother would be okay. Even at the hospital, people point and whisper at Hae-jin in the waiting room. The video of Arrowhead beating her and her mother was published online. Devastated, she goes in to check on her mom but finds her just lying on a bed, left completely untreated and ignored, and she realizes that her mom has already passed away. Meanwhile, Kyung-hoon finally gets inside Jin-soo's room and finds that both Jin-soo, Hee-young, and the hoodie are no longer there. He then goes outside and is grabbed by a whole gang of people on the streets and is beaten down. Kyung-hoon's phone drops to the floor, and suddenly Jin-soo calls him, causing the crowd to stop. Jin-soo tells Kyung-hoon that he's with Hee-young and gives him the address. Funny enough, Kyung-hoon has to use Jin-soo's face on the video call to escape from the crowd surrounding him. Kyung-hoon then rushes to the location to save his daughter. It is an abandoned, creepy school. At the same time Hae-jin goes to Pastor Kim Jeongchil, and asks him about Jin's prophecy 20 years ago. The pastor then shows her recording of Jin's interview. At the school, Kyung-hoon searches for his way in the dark and calls his daughter's name, but there is no response. He then hears piano sound coming from a classroom and rushes over to find Jin sitting there, waiting for him. Jin-soo reveals the prophecy he received 20 years ago. Just like Jungja, he saw the strange floating face, which told him that at 10:30 p.m., 20 years from that moment, he would die and be bound for hell. Hae-jin also hears the same message at that moment from the pastor's recording, so this reveal just explains that not all the people are killed by the monsters are sinner. as Jin Soo is an example as a person that never commits sin in his life. However, Jin Soo still want to use the fear to make people believe in his religion. With Jin Soo's time coming to an end, he gives Kyung-hoon a choice. He can either film Jin Soo and cause mass panic across the world, that Pyo will afraid that the prophecy can happen to them regardless how good a person can be, or he can ignore it and live on like nothing happens. Kyung-hoon decides on the latter option and watches as these monsters show up and take Jin Soo to hell. Meanwhile, Jong slowly reveals himself as the next leader of the New Truth. As Hae-jin tries to escape, Arrowhead thugs have already show up outside and beating her brutally and leave for dead. Kyung-hoon eventually heads home to Hee-young. Hee-young though hugs her father, but her eyes are cold and emotionless. Episode 4 of Hellbound is set 4 years after Young-ja's punishment. The nation has fully embraced the concept of the New Truth, and Young-ja's house has now become a museum, with videos and photos of her incidents and others used as study cases. Jong Chil is pulling the strings and serving as the new leader of this cult. The execution of hell monsters has become a haunting obsession for the entire nation. Even when a person tries to end their own life, their soul is still pursued by these monsters until the very end. As a result, people have become more religious than ever. The New Truth has become a global sensation, and Priest Yu-ji hires a TV broadcast station to create a promotional video. The director seeks his opinion on their work, but he is not pleased with the product, as it elicits too much sentiment that might make the audience feel pity for the sinners. Producer Bae Young-jae finds his idea ridiculous and scoffs at the customer's requirements, calling out the New Truth for spreading fear throughout Korea. He's quickly shot down by his colleagues, as they don't want trouble. Afterward, Young-jae is forced to stay late and re-edit the documentary. This is unfortunate news, given that his wife, So-hyun, is in the hospital, awaiting news about their newborn child who is in intensive care. The couple is worried about him. After calling his wife, Young-jae goes to work with the editor to fix the video. The editor asks for the script, so he goes to find his colleague Jun-won. At his table, he sees a business card called Sodo Quick Loan. On the back, the words Yangpyeong Fishing Spot are written. Jun-won quickly snatches it back as soon as he sees that Young-jae has it. Jun-won excuses himself to leave and claims that he has to do something with his wife. He awkwardly leaves despite Young-jae's attempt to stop him. We cut to the hospital where So-hyun is finally allowed to see her child in intensive care. She wants to send a video to Young-jae later, so the young mom enters the room with a phone recording, only to witness her newborn baby being visited by the prophet angel, who tells the baby he has 3 days to live. Young-jae finally finishes his work and drives back home. Then, Jun-won's wife calls him and asks about her husband, saying that he hasn't come back yet. She also tells Young-jae about how a loan shark contacted her a few days ago and told her to return the money he owes. Young-jae decides to drive to the Yangpyeong fishing spot to check on his friend. Meanwhile, So-hyun is looking for news regarding the prophecy in panic, unable to believe this is happening to her infant. Young-jae is stopped by the Arrowhead thugs by the lake. He says he's there to shoot some scenery, but they aren't convinced, eventually letting him go. Young-jae makes it to the fishing spot, where he sees Jun-won's car. Young-jae gets out of the car to check. Jun-won sees someone approaching him and jumps into the water. Young-jae runs toward him and tries to stop him. It turns out he also received a prophecy and is bound for hell. He wants to keep this a secret from everyone and avoid his family getting hurt by the New Truth and Arrowhead. Which is why he came all the way here. Jun-won says he already contacted Sodo law firm to take care of things, hide his body, and keep this a secret. Just like that, the hell creatures appear and kill Jun-won right in front of Young-jae. Suddenly, a group of people appears and approaches the burnt body of Jun-won, and Young-bae is dragged away. One guy tells him to forget what he's seen, as the death is covered up. Hae-jin also appears at the scene, likely the person behind this Sodo Quick Loan project, which is a disguise to silently fight against the New Truth. Young-jae is unexpectedly injected with a sleeping drug and loses consciousness. After sorting things out, Hae-jin and the Sodo people leave. The next morning, Young-jae wakes up in his car parked next to a ditch. He rushes to the hospital to see his wife and baby. She is asleep on the bed, and he gently approaches her. She wakes up and shows him a video recording of the cruel prophecy for their child. Meanwhile, the police and the New Truth have arrived at the fishing spot where Jun-won disappeared. Yu-ji quickly spots the business card of Sodo and takes a picture of it. At the hospital, So-hyun is sobbing, as she hasn't been able to find information or a solution to save their baby. Young Jae then changes into protective clothing and visits his child, not understanding what made the little one to receive the prophecy. Episode 5 of Hellbound begins with Yuji deep in thought by the river, staring at the Sodo loan business card. The police believe Junwon is simply running away from a loan shark. Just then, his subordinate arrives with information about a guy named Yang-sik, the latest victim bound for hell. They immediately rush to the scene. Meanwhile, Young Jae is worried about his baby and is researching about Sodo. In the middle of this, the director arrives and distracts him. Yuji and the New Truth members arrive at a motel where Yang-sik is hiding. It turns out that his punishment will happen soon. Yuji also discovers another Sodo business card there, Sodo Laundry Service. Young Jae recognizes the man from the fishing spot as Professor Hyeongjin and hurries to Hankook University to find him. Later that day, the New Truth brings Yang-sik back to their headquarters and uses him in a public demonstration. Kim Jeong-chil harasses him and forces him to confess to his sin in front of everyone. Yang-sik admits to the sin of gambling. But the New Truth don't just stop there, they also bring his family into witness. In despair, he cries out, saying that his sin doesn't deserve such a terrible punishment. Just then, the hell monsters appear and brutally kill Yang-sik, while everyone watches in silence. The broadcast viewer rate rises to 89%, and Jeong-chil is very satisfied with this. Even after Yang-sik is burnt to ashes, Jeong-chil continues to harass him on stage. Later, Yuji hands Jeong-chil the Sodo business card. Young Jae arrives at the university and goes to Professor Hyeongjin's room. Suddenly, a group of people opens the door and drags him inside. Hyeongjin introduces their secret organization to protect the identities of those who receive the decree and prevent the New Truth from exploiting their suffering. While they can't directly solve the problem, it's the best they can do for now. Hyeongjin proudly says that they have members everywhere who are hidden but all despise the arrogance of the New Truth. Feeling that these people might be able to help him, Young Jae shows them the video of his child's prophecy. The New Truth watches the interview with Yang-sik and discovers that Hae-jin is still alive and was talking to him before his punishment. Yuji shares Hae-jin's background that he had found, not knowing that Jeong-chil was the person who attempted to kill Hae-jin 4 years ago. Yuji wants to involve the police to investigate this, but Jeong-chil doesn't want his crime to be exposed, so he dismisses the idea and humiliates Yuji. Yuji is sent away, and he then assigns his subordinate to contact Arrowhead. While Arrowhead invade into a family connected with Sodo to interrogate them, Yuji sits in the car outside and expresses his concerns over the program. He thinks they should be doing more to reform children of sinners, while this whole demonstration over a lowly sinner seems a bit extreme. Meanwhile, Hyeongjin and Young Jae drive together. Hyeongjin says the phenomenon is like earthquake, not a punishment from God for sinners, as the New Truth propagates. Eventually, they arrive at the headquarters where Hae-jin is waiting to see them. Together, they discuss the New Truth's concealing of evidence, specifically Jin-soo's death. If the public know that Jin-soo was killed by the Hell Monster, it could expose the truth. Unfortunately, there is no evidence to support this, so Hae-jin wants to use Young Jae's newborn child's case as evidence that the decree isn't only for sinners. Hae-jin wants Young Jae to broadcast his baby's decree to the whole world. If the masses see an innocent baby on the list of those about to die, it could lead them to question the New Truth's lie. Young Jae is mad at first, as all he wants is to save his baby, not to broadcast the execution, and he believes that what Sodo is trying to do will make them no different from the New Truth. Hyeongjin calms him down and shares his own story. His daughter received a decree while they were traveling to the beach, and within seconds, 3 monsters ran toward their car. Hyeongjin swung over, and the car fell out of the road, leaving both him and his daughter injured. Hyeongjin witnessed his daughter being dragged out of the car and killed right before his eyes. Young Jae is moved by the story. When Young Jae returns home, he finds So-hein looking very distressed, and the baby is crying. So-hein blames herself for what happened, pointing out her mother's past sins as the reason. As she speaks, tears stream down her face in despair. Seeing his wife in such a state, Young Jae tells her that the decree has nothing to do with sin and tells her about Sodo. Meanwhile, Hyeongjin is attacked while out on the road by Arrowhead thugs. They eventually knock him out, tie him and take him to an abandoned warehouse to interrogate. It turns out they gets the information of Hyeongjin by the guy they tortured before, named Gunbi. They throw Hyungji into the incinerator and let him burn to death. Gunbi is next. They also manage to have the address for Hyejin's place, and Arrowhead arrive there execute her. Luckily Hyejin is ready and run away from them. Yuji has seen enough and decides to intervene but then get defeated quickly by her. Finally Hyejin manages to escape. The burnt bodies are found the next early morning. News breaks about Hyungji being part of Sodo. Arrowhead issue a statement too, mentioning how the pair were sinners and deserved to be punished. They also show Hyejin's picture and declare her the leader of Sodo, making sure there's nowhere she can run to. Young Jae is stunned to see how crazy and extreme the new truth can go. Hyejin rings Young Jae and tries to convince him to broadcast the video. When she learns he's not with So-hyun, she expresses concerns. It turns out So-hyun has actually taken the baby to the new truth headquarters. Episode 6 of Hellbound begins with Young Jae calling So-hyun, but she declines his call. She then texts him that she brought their baby to the new truth headquarters. Young Jae is shocked by this news and immediately leaves his office. Meanwhile, So-hyun is waiting in a room until Yuji comes in, and she shows him the video of the prophecy. Young Jae rushes to get his car and calls Hyejin to inform her about what's happening. Hyejin is also on her way to the new truth headquarters with Sodo's people. After watching the decree, Yuji leaves the room and calls Jeongchil. The new truth priests gather in the meeting room and watch the video of the baby's prophecy. They discuss what to do next. Jeongchil wants to isolate So-hyun and the baby and send people to investigate who else knows about this. Young Jae and Hyejin arrive at the new truth at the same time and rush inside. So-hyun already regrets her decision to bring the baby there as they try to separate her from her child. One of the Sodo members suddenly appear, claiming he has received a decree and is due to be killed in 10 minutes. This is all a distraction as the press surrounds him. Young Jae and Hyejin take the opportunity to enter and see So-hyun being separated from her child. Sodo and Young Jae run in to the rescue. Meanwhile, Yuji goes to handle the fake decree man, quickly realizing it's a trap. But Hyejin has already driven away with the baby. The new truth staff tries their best to stop her but fails. Jeongchil beats the S out of Yuji as long as he knows the baby victim has escaped, and they can't control the execution. Their religion is at risk with this revelation since the prophecy isn't only for sinners. Meanwhile, Young Jae and the others arrive in a quiet neighborhood where a man named Dongwook is waiting for them. They make their way into his house. Dongwook used to be a follower of the new truth but turned away from their doctrine after realizing it was false. With only one day until the demonstration, Hyejin is worried that time is running out. Eventually, So-hyun agrees to upload the video, and Dongwook has the equipment to do it since he used to be a streamer. Hyejin addresses the video, showing the baby's decree and promising to broadcast his death live at 9:30 p.m. the following day. The new truth deacons scramble to find a solution. The next day, Dongwook sneaks outside and calls Jeongchil, telling him that Hyejin and others are at his place. It's revealed that Dongwook was actually the Skull Mask streamer from Arrowhead and he received a decree 3 years ago, and it is set to take place 5 minutes after the babies. Chairman Kim sees this as a great opportunity to manipulate Dongwook, claiming that he is actually the Messiah, and the unstable man falls for it. He's proud of this revelation and hangs up on them. However, he throws the phone near the house as a clue for them. Yuji tracks Dongwook's phone and takes off with others, finding Hyejin's parked car. Young Jae goes downstairs and notices bodies on the floor, following the maniacal laughter to Dongwook, who has killed them with a knife. He intends to kill everyone and actually believes he is the savior. Young Jae incapacitates him with a taser, and runs to notify everyone. However, Dongwook quickly gets up and knocks him down. He races back into the room, attempting to harm the women. Hyejin jumps on and holds him back, allowing So-hyun and the baby to escape. All this commotion brings out the other residents onto the balconies who watch as So-hyun cries out in despair with the baby on her hand. So-hyun places the baby on a surface and tells him that she will stay with him no matter what. Someone records her and publish online. Yuji races up to the area with the police. Hyejin finally defeats Dongwook and gets out of the room. Hell Monster arrive, and Hyejin runs try to stop it from hurting the baby but quickly gets knocked down to the ground. At that moment Young Jae also runs toward his wife, So-hyun tries to run away from but also gets knocked down. As the beasts come close, young Jae uses a hose to tie up himself and Sohyun to keep the baby inside the as a cocoon. The monsters arrives and burn the trio, then leave. Everyone come closer to see and they hear the baby cries. He managed to escape. Dongwook looks like about to harm the child. Luckily he is stopped by Hyejin. The hell monsters soon arrive again for him, killing Dongwook in front of everyone. Yuji arrives and rushes to the scene. Hyejin quickly holds the baby and tries to escape. This time, the crowd seems to be on her side, blocking Yuji and his people from going through. An old man questions the new truth's belief and calls them liars. Yuji loses his temper and assaults the man. This action is recorded by people there, and the police officer next to him turns to arrest Yuji instead. Hyejin, exhausted, takes the baby in a taxi to escape. The driver turns out to be a kind man who helps her find a safe path. That night at the house of Youngja, now used as a museum, the burnt corpse of Youngja suddenly revives, shattering the glass box. Ashes from all directions gather around the body, and a fully formed human body is regenerated, Youngja herself. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and like for more videos like this.